All right, thank you for staying with us. Network and service, has been an albatross this morning. But, we're trying to round off now because of time with Mogaji, Boyega, Dejiman. And I was trying to say we just have less than 2 minutes for this conversation, sir, that, many persons will say maybe the president is trying. Currently is in China, on a state visit, advertising, and, is the #1 marketer for Nigeria. The student loan, some of the things he has been able to do, the student loan policy is there, the 50% reduction, in electricity tariff for hospitals and schools is there. The recommendation from the IMF is there. More money are not even available for the federating unit. State have more money. And some will say, why we have Femi pinpoint and call out President Tinubu, are we not to be talking with and calling out state governors now that they even have more money as well? As a round off, sir.
For crying out loud, states do not have more money. It is a game. It is a gambit, and I've debunked it. In fact, I got across to Governor Seyi Makinde, who sent me something that even went viral. Now, even the money they said they gave to the governors was about the grant that the World Health Organization gave to the governors back for all their efforts on COVID. Meanwhile, if the way they have devalued the naira is just the same thing that happens to you, if you have $1,000 today, you go to the market, you collect 1.6 million. Maybe because it is 1.6 million, you think it is more than what $1,000 used to fetch when Buhari was there, which is 460,000 naira. But if you take the 1.6 million to the market, you realize that the buying power of the 1.6 million is actually less in terms of the value that will accrue to you, and what you will have bought with 460 at that time, of course, is so much more. Okay, wait. With their band A and band B, which is discriminated against Nigerians, people are suffering. Homes that were paying maybe 40,000 naira for electricity before are now paying 170,000. And somebody wants to tell me that the economy is improving. If they gave loans to students, what is the percentage of those students that got the loan? I've just told you that UI and some other universities have increased their tuition from say 200,000 or 250 to 450. So when you look at these things in terms of what they gave to the state, you realize that the buying power that the states collect do not even amount to anything. Let them start to pay 70,000 minimum wage.
Right.
And you will see what has happened to the naira that has become so bastardized. Which much money are they giving to the state?
All right,
meanwhile, what are we practicing? Are we practicing unitary system, or we are practicing a federal system of governance? The state will even be the ones that should be giving the federal government money if they allow them to keep their resources, generate the resources, which is exactly what we are preaching. What is the point of sending children to school if at the end of the term or the section you promote them without any examination?
All right.
You give them blanket promotion. That is what this unitary system is doing. If no state is being allowed to compete to make the idea of federalism to work, to generate their own income, and then they all go to Abuja to collect money at the end of the month, whether they work or they don't work. Is that fair? So what is it that they are saying they are giving to the states?
I'm afraid because of time we might have to go,
place where the federal government is even deemed to be superior to the states.
Yes.
So it is actually something that is demeaning in the federal state to have the federal government even begin to accuse the states. So when the federal government creates insecurity, like we have heard the likes of Toji, who is reigning in the northeast, and all the terrorists that have come down to the southwest to be kidnapping and making life unbearable, and creating problems for the states. And they want the states to bear that responsibility. Is it not the responsibility of the federal government?
We must sincerely thank you, sir.
Of security. We say we cannot begin to party.
If you can hear
to
me, sir,
prevaricate.
we must have to go now.
Yes.
Yes, because of time.
Yes.
And, you know, Mogaji, one of these days, we'd like to have you in person to sit down with us in the studio so that we have more of these conversations, sir.
No wahala, no problem.
All right. Thank you. And High Chief Mogaji Boyega Adejumo, and Ibadan High Chief, rather. And of course, he is a ranking member of the Eminent Elders Forum, a Pan-Nigerian leaders group, and also is involved with the Western Region Organization, a new initiative involving many positively charged Awolowo-inspired Yoruba leaders, and a former publicity secretary of the Afenifere. Thank you for your time and take, sir.
You're welcome.
All right. Have a good day, sir. All right. That is the first leg of the conversation. We take a very quick break right now. When we come back, we talk about democracy, we talk about elections, and of course, having a nation that we are proud of. Stay with me. All right, as they say, the government of the people, by the people, and for the people, conventionally and basically, that's the definition, accepted definition, at least in this part of the world, of democracy. So it has to do with the people, the influence on the people, the influence of these big wigs for the people, for the betterment of the people. And then you talk about politics, you talk about election, and the rest, you know, the quest for power, especially when stakeholders are involved. And this is what is going to be happening. The gubernatorial decisions will be made by the good people of Edo State and Edo State later this year. But, you know, firstly, it's about the election in Edo State to choose who will succeed. Governor Godwin Obaseki, who has been in the leadership for the state for almost 8 hours now in Edo State. Later this month, this election will be happening. And then to give us a hang of what we have, it happened 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 16 years ago. These are the issues. It's a ritual. But, you know, each election comes with its own dynamics. So what do we have with what is happening? We have an organization that has been working closely with deepening, entrenching democracy in Nigeria. And the head of the organization, Kimpact Development Initiative, is here with us. And of course, is not a stranger to the house. Mr. Bukola Idowu, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here.
Same here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, the people of Edo State will be going to the polls later in this month. What do we have? Because, as I said, each election cycle comes with its own dynamics. Yes, there might be pattern, but what do you know? You have been working, you are still working, and we appreciate you for the good work, you and your team as well. What is happening?
I think the election is going on as planned by INEC. INEC, by Saturday, they should be able to, I think by on the 10th, to be specific. I'm not really sure if 10th is Saturday, but on the 10th to be specific. Yeah. They will be having a mock accreditation exercise in Edo State. So that will make it like about 14 out of 16 activity they need to do before the election planned in terms of timeline. And then after that, then you'll be left with the election and declaration of results. So, but if you look at it, the plan is ongoing. INEC for the part of INEC, and then from the part of the political party. So we've now seen heightened campaign because in the past month, despite the fact that the electoral had to provide like about 6 months to have their campaign, we've not seen much campaign, but now it's been heightened, and it shows that the politicians were trying to probably conserve their money and energy and their tactics closer to the election. But at the same time,
so you're saying there is a peculiarity that if it's before, the elections would have been more louder than what we have right now.
Yes, because the Electoral Act of 2010 that was repealed just gave campaign and then everything to be 3 months. So you have to do every of those things in 3 months. So what they used to do then is that they tour every week after the primary, then they have just that 3 months to quickly do their campaign. So to all the local governments, everywhere they need to campaign within that 3 months. But now the Electoral Act has amended it that to 6 months. So, but we now find out that the first 3 months or the first 4 months, the politicians have been resting, strategizing. They have not done much campaign. But now 2 months to the election, which started last month, you find out that they've been heightening campaign rallies upon rallies, and then including mini rally, mega rallies have been going on in Edo State. So the politicians are already preparing. The security agencies are also preparing.
Right.
I know. Just recently, the Inspector General of Police changed the Commissioner of Police of Edo State, and then hopefully that will be the last before the election. But as it has always been, by next week, 2 weeks to come, that same Commissioner of Police can also be changed. But if you look at it in terms of the preparation, everything keep going until we wait till the day of election, that all the plans they put in place, we want to see it materialize in good faith.
Yeah. Quickly, before Tommy comes in, let's look at the INEC part. Do we have statistics about the collection of cards, the preparation of the people, the mood, the atmosphere? Quickly about the security dimension of it as well, because we've been hearing, and it's quite unfortunate. I remember the last time you were here, we were talking about elections, and we just hope that will be one day that we speak to issues, not about a party alleging the other of pulling down his billboards, tearing, some of their, and then you wonder, this is still 2024. Mr. Idowu, how come we are still having this conversation? And then talk about the card collection as well.
So I think
September 2024.
I will start with why we are still having this conversation, and that's also tied to some of the things your first guests have said. So because you can't dissociate election, you can't treat election in isolation with what is happening in this country. And this is one thing we need to know, that number one, the election we are going to have in September in Edo State is going to happen within an insecure environment. So you don't expect the election to just go without any security issue, because as of today, by our tracking, we've had over 66 cases of violence in Edo State, and then we have over like about 41 cases of election violence. Now that's over 66 cases of violence in Edo State, and I'm talking from January to date. And these are issues that borders around kidnapping, that borders around court clashes, that borders around ethnic and boundary issues. So you have various issues, and after that, and I can tell you, between that January till now, you have close to 24 fatalities. So, and that is to tell you, then, after we spoke last time in here,
24 fatalities.
Yes,
that's 24 human lives.
Life lost. You understand? To the insecurity. However, now the last time we had conversation here, after that, you find out that there was a very tragic, unfortunate incident that happened around the election. At the airport, where the Felicia was coming in, and it was a shootout, and then police lost a life, due to that incident. So when you look at that, you find out that it's becoming like a do or die affair. Now, after that, the PDP has come out to say, look, the police have been arresting our members alone. So that also talks about another issue. But this is what I'm trying to bring out, that look, this is likely to be a do or die affair, and we are likely going to begin to continue in this path of insecurity, of putting everything into this, until we change our perception and our perspective about elections and politics. And what is that perspective? And the way the Nigerian nation has treated our politics is because they have treated politics as the most, as of today, is the most lucrative institution, the most lucrative job in the country as it is. Tell me, which other place can you work and you earn 29 million a month? Then multiply 29 million a month by 12 to get how much you earn per annum. Then in 4 years, if you don't come back, you are going to have excess. A bit above a billion, if not 2 billion naira, that you are will have earned in 4 years. And aside that, some of them in 4 years become pensionable. So you now see why they throw in their weight into it. An institution. So you have a government institution, all government institution, most especially the legislative arm, that have the capacity to fix their salary and do above what revenue mobilization committee, I mean that body that RFA, that do above the stipulated constitutional requirement they give them. So when you have this lucrative in business, then people tend to go in there and do everything. And that is why we keep having this conversation we are having, because now people sell their properties to go and contest. Where are they going to recoup it from? So, and then again, coupled with the system of governance we are practicing in Nigeria around the election. And what is that system? It is winners take it all. So in some climes, in some other democracy, so if you lose, you still have the they look at, for instance, they call it proportional representation, and they look at probably you had 40% of the vote, then you can be given a concession to be part of the government, to form the government to the tune of your to the votes you made. So you can, for instance, if you are going to have a cabinet of 10, you send in 4, you know, things like that, or you send in 3. But in Nigeria, you lose totally. So people don't want to lose.
All right, so looking at the tussle between both parties, the contenders, the legal battles, the heightened temperature, the political temperature of Edo State at the moment, even the economic state and insecurity and the likes. Looking at this coming election, should we be expecting a free and fair election? Do you feel that some of these things are listed would play a negative role in the coming election?
So as someone who have worked closely with this, I think even last week I was sitting in Edo State, and then we are meeting with the security agencies, meeting with stakeholders, working with them and civil society. And from my own experience, I decided to play down my expectation, and I don't want to raise my hope, you know. And I'm not going to raise my hope for 3 major reasons. Number one, the election is going to be keenly contested, and when you have an election that is keenly contested, nobody wants to lose. When I say keenly contested, you have Olumide Akpata from Labour Party, who is also strong. You have Asu Ighodalo from PDP, who is also strong, that his party is the incumbent. And then you now have Monday Okpebolo, who is from APC, who is also strong with kind of the backing he got. So you have those 3 major candidates who are going to have their own fair share. Now, the question is, should we be looking at probably a runoff in that election? Because it's not going to be a simple majority. So that is number one. It's not going to be a simple majority because you still have to have a percentage of all the local government. So, and these people are strong in their own. So when you are having a strong competition in Nigeria, as it is, then you tend to have some of these challenges because the atmosphere is charged. So that is number one. So, and with that atmosphere that is charged, you know, you find out that everybody on that day, including the security agencies, including the voters, all of them will have their hands, the ad hoc staff, all of them will have their hands full on that day. So then at that particular point in time, suspicion is high. So when you find late arrival or probably beavers malfunctioning for 5 minutes, it's a potential for violence on that day. So that becomes an issue. So because some people will say, oh, you want to disenfranchise us in this polling unit, or because our candidate is strong here. And so it raises attention. Number 2 is because the president's body language has not shown anything that talks about free and fair election.
How so? How do you mean?
The president came out and said, look, I am the commander-in-chief and I'm going to deliver Edo to you, APC. It's on video. So that statement alone did not show that you are the father of the nation. And then when you now go to Edo State, the conversation in Edo State is, if the president has made such a statement, I don't know if you have seen that video. If the president has made such a statement, which government apparatus is he going to use? Is he going to use INEC? Is he going to use the police, the security agency? So as it is,
Mr. Ado, some might say it's just a political talk, isn't it?
That has not. So that is, it could be a political statement that it doesn't really mean. But the opposition are not treating it that way. So the opposition are not treating it that way. And that's why they have cried out that, oh, all their members are being arrested. That is number one. Number two is that statement have also raised suspicion about those institutions. So whatever the police is doing now, or the security agencies are doing now, people are already thinking, oh, is he, second guessing already. Then if any each from INEC, they feel that, oh, that is the set of people INEC, the government want to use. So that alone, you understand? And don't forget that election is about perception. When people perceive that this election is free and fair, then the election is free and fair. If they perceive that a lot are wrong with that election, and I keep telling you, so somebody asked me sometimes ago outside the country and said, look, 2023 election, how is that election? I said, well, the election is the best and is the worst depending on who you ask. So it's about perception. So if you ask somebody who lost, he said the election is the worst. If you ask another person who won that election, he said that is the best election INEC will have conducted. It's just the same thing with judiciary. All right. You know, if you go to the judiciary, you get your judgment, you say, oh, judiciary is the last hope of the common. So it's the same thing. It's about perception.
All right, very well. So quickly before we move to the B part of the conversation, what you're saying is that statement from the president was needless, isn't it?
It's absolutely. Very, very
Some even say maybe it's dangerous.
Very, very. And this is one thing, and I think give it to Buhari. This is one thing you don't have Buhari, saying. But don't forget, this same president.
At the contest, wasn't he at that point addressing his party members?
So let's go back to history. This same president had a lot of interest in Edo State. In 2020, the same president did a video. And talking about Edo State that they should not vote for Obaseki. And that was when the slogan in Edo State came out, Edo no be Lagos. So these are, and so you see that be that pattern there. That look, it looks like, oh, that time he was not even the president. He had an interest in that state. So, and that is the issue. And that is why in our report we have raised concern. We have, send it to INEC that look, with the dynamics, your preparation have to be top notch. Last week, we met with the security agencies in both states, this civil defense, DSS, EFCC, police, all of them. We told them, look, this is the context at which this election is going to be happening. So your preparation is need to be heightened, need to be excellent, coupled with the fact that people, perception and trust about you is not top notch. So what do you need to do? You must not only be neutral, then people must also see you to be neutral in that
very
election.
good. You know, in 30 seconds, this is an off-season cycle election in which the apparatus of the government will have more than enough to man spaces. Don't you think this should serve as an advantage at least?
It's an advantage, and at the same time,
enough NSCDC, enough INEC members.
It's an advantage, at the same time a disadvantage. An advantage because you have more and more human resources to work with. That is number one. Number two, it's also a disadvantage because number one, it gives us false hope. Because most times, for instance, you know, you will have a very good election, Osun 2022 election. That was the last election to the general election. Beavers work excellently in both Ekiti and Osun. And then the IREV also work both effectively, both in Ekiti and Osun, and then leading us to the general election. So we had false hope because it worked in those elections. Not forgetting that we had more hands coming from different states. So, but this one again, when you have more, for instance, people have talked about over securitizing the election can also scare people away. So these are a whole lot of dynamics around the election.
Quickly, time is a constraint this morning. We have less than 3-4 minutes. Well, I'd like you to see this video, and maybe we'll round off with that. It's about the rule of law. You have been working tirelessly, you and your team, about entrenching the real type of democracy and rule of law and responsibility on leaders. This happened when the minister of the FCT, was talking to his people right back at his state, and he made some statement that is not controversial. Take a look.
And let me assure all of you, not while we live, anybody will take away the structure of PDP from us. Not while we live. And let me tell people, I hear that there are some governors, who say they will take away the structure and give it back to somebody. I pity those governors because I'll put fire in their state. When God has given you peace, you say no one peace. Then whatever you see, you take it.
Mr. Idowu, when you hear kind of talk from public office holder, a two-time governor, somebody in charge of the FCT in the current administration, in spite of the politics, he was addressing his people, but he knew it was on camera, and this kind of conversation will go at, say, because of the structure in my state, I heard some PDP governors came and they are trying to support the other person. It's like they don't have enough. I will put fire in their state. What does this mean?
So what it means
Should this
is
be taken lightly?
So what it means is that, and it's the same thing that happened with the statement the president make in that video that we say is a political statement. Some of his supporters will say this statement is also a political statement, but it's not. But this is the truth.
Yes.
Now we have an issue where we have strong men as against strong institution in this country. What is said in a place where we know our rights, where democracy is stronger, and where the rule of law is also stronger and institutions are stronger, which that man should have resigned by this morning. You understand? Because you, number one, how can you, so you cannot just make a statement and say you will put fire in their state. So which means you have the capacity to destabilize a state.
Exactly.
And single entity. That is number one. Number two, it also shows, and then you also look at who is talking. You understand? While you are in PDP, you work against your own party, and at the end of the day, you pick up an appointment and you still retain the party, fighting the sitting governor, installing the
governor. Nobody should touch the structure.
And you are saying nobody should touch the structure. Meanwhile, you are not, nobody is sure whether you are in their party or not. And then you are even saying you cannot be punished. So, and he talks about the elite capture that we've been talking about when it comes to political party. Because he is the one funding the party, in that particular state. So he feels he can do and undo, and that is the concept of the elite capture. But political parties are owned by the people. So, and that is one area we need to go back to in this country. Right. We need to see people contributing to support their political party, not leaving it for somebody who has the money to fund the political party. And when the person come and begin to draw the list of the delegate, how do you want to blame him? Because he's the one funding the party.
Interesting. Mr. Idowu, some have even said maybe the security operatives should be speaking with him right now, because it's not enough. If he's an individual that makes these things or made these statements on just an average person on social media, you will see all the DSS of this one.
The issue in this country is impunity, and that impunity stays with wherever you are, who is making the statement. Look, with all manners of statements as Edo Guber has made in this country, who has he been going in and out of DSS? No. With all the statements Wike has made, has he been going in and out of DSS? No. With all the statements some politicians, even including, I hope you've even seen a video, though it's an old video, an old video of the wife of the president said they are going to chase Igbo out of a particular location. Now, was she interrogated? Right. So these are a lot of impunity that we have in this country that need to be addressed, because the moment it's in our party, nothing will happen. If it's in their party, then DSS will go after you. We need to change.
Exactly. That's why we're having this conversation, to put people on their toes to be responsible. Because we don't want any statement. And when you see somebody with all kind of confidence, really now, that's speaking to such issues in such manner, I think it will be really disconcerting and concerning to so many persons as well. I want to thank you, Mr. Bukola Idowu, for your time and take on the program. We hope we'll still get to have you before that election happens so that we have more time to discuss it. Mr. Bukola Idowu is the head and the lead at Kimpact Development Initiative. Thank you for the good work that you do as well. Tomi, we should go.
Yeah, very well. We should go. That was an insightful conversation with Mogaji and our very guest in the studio. Thank you for joining us. Do well to join us tomorrow for the fresh edition of the show. My name is Tomilola Daniel.
Mimi, Doredo, or whatever. If Daniel can have, the notations. Femi Ojo is my name as well. Do well to follow us on our social media platforms, just like I said. And you can have a recap of this program on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. In whatever you do today, be responsible. And as I always say, please stay alive.